Percents. All right, so here's what I want you to see. Well, the idea we want to look at this is we want to kind of have this, is what do we do when we see a percent? And so I want to kind of just use an old thing that we've done. I want to use something familiar. So percent means per cent means per 100. So that word cent there, century, centurion, 1 cent as a penny. So that's going to mean the idea of 100. So every percent is always going to be out of 100. So we can start there. It's going to always be a ratio. So if it's a ratio, I can use a proportion. So here, they're giving me 12%, so I know 12 is going to be out of 100. Now, the other thing is I want to know what's here. So this is going to be usually my whole, and this is usually going to be my part. Not always, but let's go there for a little bit. So now what happens is 200 going to go on the bottom, or is it going to go on the top? And so that's what I want to kind of, that's the hardest part about this, and I'm going to use this word of for a minute. So of is going to be my total almost all the time. It's almost always going to be my total. When I say the United States of America, America is both North America and South America, and the United States is part of that. If I say in a class of 70 people, I know the total is 70 people. So I'm going to put the 200 down here, and I want to know what the what is. And that's going to be my X on the top. So I can do this a couple different ways. You may see it and say, oh, Mr. Hyde, look. If I just say times 2, I can do times 2, right? And that's fine. You could definitely, if you see that, have at it. You don't have to do this other method. But the other method we've been looking at is just this idea of cross multiply. So what two numbers do I have? I have 12 and I have 200, so I'm going to multiply those first. So I'm going to say 12 times 200 is going to be 2,400. Right? And then since this 100 is by itself, I'm going to use it second. Right? And so I'm going to divide that by 100, and that's going to give me 24. Right? So now I know that 24 is 12% of 200. Right? The next kind of problem is like this idea. So it says, hey, what percent? Again, I see percent, so I can definitely start with out of 100 right away. The problem is they don't give me the percent, they're asking me for it, so therefore I'm going to put an X on top. I'm going to look at that word of again, right? And I'm going to say of 50, so I know that's my total. And I know 15 is going to be the part, so I'm going to put that on the top. So again, I'm going to start with that idea of the diagonal, and I'm going to use that 15x. So I'm going to sit there and say 15 times 100 is 1,500, and I'm going to divide that by 50. If I divide that by 50, I'm going to get 30. So I have the idea that's going to be 30%. And so that's going to be my answer is 15 is 30% of 50. Again, you may see, Mr. Hyde, look, times 2, but it's not always going to be that easy. So I want to kind of give you the method for both ways. But again, if you can see that number, all day you're perfect, right? And if you look at this for a second, if I say, for example, if I wanted to check this for a minute, 15 over 50. If I put that in my calculator, I get 15 divided by 50, and that's going to give me 0.3. If I try the same thing over here, 30 over 100, I'm going to also get 0.3. Right? So it's just a kind of way of looking at a percent. This is going to be the other part. Notice again, it gives me 25%. So I'm going to say 25 over 100. Notice that I'm going to use that of for a second and say of what number. It doesn't have the total. So I don't have the total. That goes on the bottom, and then 35 is on top. Right? Now, you may look at this and say, Mr. Hyde, again, I got this way. It's times 4, and I can do the same thing down here and kind of figure that out. That's fine. That's perfect. If you can see that, great. All right? But if you want just the method of just how we do it, multiply 35 times 100. It's going to be 3,500. And we're going to divide it by the second number over here. All right? And so I'm going to get 3,500 divided by 25, and I'm going to get 140. So 35 is 25% of 140. And that's just a nice little intro into percents, and see how you go from there. All right? So anytime I see a percent, I know it's over 100. So start with that, see how you do.